Hey guys, Timothy here. This is day 8 of spoilers. We are rounding out the rest of the set here. Apparently we missed a couple mythics, or I missed a couple. I thought we were done, but we've got a very short video today, about 6 or 7 cards to talk through. The most recent one that just came up a little while ago is Noose Constrictor. This is a 1 in a green snake. 2/2 with reach, so already pretty good on the vanilla test. 2/2 with reach for 2 is fine. Helps fight the aggressive flyer decks, and there are a lot of 2/1 flyers in this format. And then he can discard a card to get +1/+1 until end of turn. So obviously this is a madness enabler for a color that doesn't really need madness, but it's obviously more of like a delirium based card. You see Wild Mongrel down there. That was a very key card for certain madness decks, but green had a lot more madness tricks in the formats where Wild Mongrel was good. Here we're looking at a delirium enabler though, and I feel like black-green delirium is going to be a strong limited deck. I feel like it got a lot of tools here, and having a card to just pitch things, this can get you turn 2 delirium just instantly if you have the right combination of cards. I would advise against pitching all your good cards in your hand just to achieve delirium, but pitching an artifact, creature, and a land gets you 3/4 of the way there by itself. And this is just a good vanilla creature on curve, so this is a solid card. I would play it in most green decks. I would be a lot happier playing it in green-black delirium or something that maybe sometimes you end up in like green-red good stuff or something like that, and you have Fiery Tempers and Stensia Masquerade, you know, a bunch of cards that are just decent madness cards but don't really fit a theme of your deck, and this can help you just madness those out for value. It is an instant speed trick too, so if you're playing like green black and you just have like Twins of Mauer Estate or some madness creatures, this can let you instant speed drop some creatures on the board. So very solid card. I think it fits a niche very, very well. Fortune's Favor is a little interesting. It's 3 and a blue for an instant. It's uncommon, and it says target opponent looks at the top 4 cards of your library and separates them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Obviously, you don't get to look at the face-down pile. Now, this leads to some really weird shenanigans. So, your opponent is going to have to decide what they want to show you and what they don't want to show you. And oftentimes, it's going to be pretty obvious what they don't want to show you. For instance, if they give you a face-up card and it's one of the best cards in your deck and they know it and you know it, and it's just one really good face-up card or 3 really bad, like 3 unknown face-down cards, odds are that the face-down cards aren't really worth taking over your bum, although you still get a 3-for-1 card advantage there, so I don't know. It gets awkward when it's 2 and 2 and it's like, you know, a land and a card, and then the face down pile is like something something. It's probably just another land and another card of equal power or something like that. But this leads to some really weird scenarios where if I were playing and my opponent used this and I had to separate some cards and I saw you know, maybe one really good card and then another decent card, not as good, and then 2 other cards, I might try to be tricksy and, you know, put the second to best card in the face-up pile and then, I don't know, the best card with the other 2 in a face-down pile and just see if I can get my opponent. Because if they see a single card, if you put a card in a single pile face-up, and it's a strong card, that usually means the other 3 you don't care that much about, but you do care about that. And a lot of times people are incentivized to take the stronger card that they see. But I don't know, this leads to a lot of really weird situations where I'm going to have to think about what could my opponent have seen. Just like Fact or Fiction or any card like this, Epiphany at the Drown Yard, you know, there's a little bit of a, you know, kind of guessing what the opponent wants or guessing what you want, so on and so forth. So I like cards like this. It makes things really interesting. It is an instant as well, and in most situations it's going to be at least a draw 2 or at least draw 1 really good card. So I like it, especially with blue having a lot of instants and sorceries matters type cards. So I can really get behind it. We'll have to see how it plays out, really. It might just be really annoying or something like that, but I don't know. Here we have Dark Salvation. This is a black rare, a sorcery. The cost is black X and X, and it says target player puts X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Then up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each zombie that player controls. So this is interesting for a couple reasons. most of the time it's going to be at least a 2 for 1. I think 5 is the sweet spot for this card, so at least 2 for X. Think about if your opponent has an X1 on their side of the field, you can pay 3 mana for this, get a 2/2, and then kill their X1. Note that this also counts other zombies you control, not just the ones that you get off of this card. So if you are in a dedicated zombie deck, this gets a lot stronger, and you can even just pay 1 black mana and 0 for X to have this be a -1/-1 for each zombie you control, which is decent too. One other note about this, it says target player, so you can, in a 2-headed giant game, if your partner is playing a dedicated zombie deck, you can actually give them the zombies and then have, -1/-1 based on how many zombies your partner has. I don't know why you would do that, because if they were partners playing dedicated zombies, they're probably the one with this in their deck in the first place. But this card seems good enough that it should be rare. But like I said, 5 is probably the sweet spot. If you pay 2 for X, then you're paying 2, 2, and 1 for 5, and you're getting 2 zombies, plus you're negating -2/-2 on a creature, which seems pretty good. That's a 3 for 1 if you manage to kill that creature. I think this is a really strong card, and obviously these X cost cards scale in power, so if you ever get to the point where you're getting 3, 4 plus zombies, then power to you. Moving on, we have Spell Queller. Spell Queller. This is a 1 white blue spirit, 2/3 flash and flying. That's fantastic. I love that. 2/3 flash flying, very strong for a 3 mana card. But when it enters the battlefield, you exile target spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. So that exiles, it means cards that can't be countered, like Altered Ego, can still be exiled with this effect. And then it says when it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner may cast the card without paying its mana cost. So it's like a temporary counter spell. If they kill Spell Queller, they then get their spell back. In certain situations, that may be a lot worse. Maybe you're countering an aura or something, and then when they get the spell back, they don't have a creature to get it on or something like that. This seems like a very strong card. It's actually a blue-white spirit. For some reason, there have been more spirits in other colors than there have been in blue-white, but this is strong. Use it as a counter spell. It reminds me of Ulamog's Nullifier from Battle for Zendikar. Not quite the same, because Nullifier was just a straight-up counterspell, but required some work. This is a counterspell for most things. Notice it has to be converted mana cost 4 or less, so don't try to get your opponent on their big play with this, because it won't work. But on its base, if this had no effects and it was just a 3 mana 2/3 flyer with flash, that would be fantastic as is. So I'm willing to bet this is a very good card. Just be careful with the card you're exiling, because sometimes it's advantageous for your opponent to be able to cast something for free along with another card. So there are situations where this can really get you for playing it, but most of the time, I'd say like 90% of the time, this is just going to get your opponent, and it's going to be a very good card. It's not really something they can play around really much either. They can either not cast spells, or they can cast spells that are going to get hit by this. I really like it. I think it's a strong card. Do I think it's what spirits need? No. Zombies finally got what they need, but spirits don't seem to have any reason to play spirits other than Rattle Chains, and it's just not cutting it. And Rattle Chains is a good card, though. Here we have another mythic. This is Nahiri's Wrath. It's 2 and a red for a sorcery, and says, as an additional cost to cast it, discard X cards. Nahiri's Wrath deals damage equal to the total converted mana cost of the discarded cards to each of up to X target creatures and or planeswalkers. So the way this works is essentially for each creature or planeswalker you want to target, you discard a card, and then you count up the total mana cost of all the cards that you discarded, and it hits everything you targeted equal to the total mana cost. It can't hit players, thank God, otherwise this could be insane, but this is oftentimes going to wipe a lot of things. Notice this is usually probably card disadvantage unless you're using Madness, because you're using at least one card with the Wrath that doesn't do anything on its surface, and then for each card you're discarding, you're hitting a target. So assuming you're killing those targets, this is actually going to be a card disadvantage for you, but the fact that this is so flexible and so strong that it's going to wipe out pretty much anything. Imagine, probably on average, you're hitting things for at least 4 or 5 mana, or 4 or 5 damage, plus, if you discard a 5-drop, you could discard 1 5-drop and kill one thing. That seems decent as well. So it's kind of like a Lava Axe effect. Lightning Axe, not Lava Axe. This is not a Lava Axe, but this is versatile enough and strong enough that it's actually pretty insane in certain decks. One other thing about this is a great Madness enabler because it doesn't actually cost extra mana to hit extra targets. A lot like Collective Brutality, Madness cards are better when you can scale the effect without paying extra mana. So the more Madness cards you can discard, the more free mana you have open to actually be able to use the Madness cost on those cards. So this gets a lot stronger in Black-Red or a Madness dedicated deck, Blue-Red, something like that, where you can take advantage of the cards you're discarding and make up for that card disadvantage. Here we have, apparently Soren and Nahiri are still fighting. I don't keep up with the story too well, but Campaign of Vengeance is 3 white and black, and it says, it's an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses a life and you gain a life. So we've seen this effect a couple times before. Foul-Tongued Shriek and Brutal Horde Chief had this same effect. Brutal Horde Chief was great. Foul-Tongued Shriek was probably close to unplayable in certain decks. This card being an enchantment makes me like it a lot better, especially in the colors where you've got a lot of skulky, dirtily things in black and a lot of like spirit tokens and flyers in white. If you can get an opening to drop this on the field and not be dead for wasting your 5th turn or wasting 5 mana on a do-nothing card right away, then this can definitely swing a game in your favor, especially in a race. And I shouldn't say it doesn't do anything the turn you play it. Assuming you have creatures and you're attacking, which is what this card wants you to do, then it will help you swing the race and it will do something the turn it comes down. The problem is this doesn't fit in every deck. A lot of people see these types of cards and they think it's insane, but if you're playing a more defensive deck or you're going for a really long game, this is probably not what you want. So control decks want this a lot less than straight creature-based aggro decks. But I think white-black can definitely take advantage of it, and I think it's a fine card. It isn't uncommon, so you won't see it too often, and it does scale in power, but I don't know how many turns you can afford to just drop a 5-mana enchantment. Chaos Reveler, I believe this is the last card today. This is 6 red, so very steep cost for a Devil Horror, a 3/4 with Prowess, and it costs 1 less for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, so you definitely want to be the instant sorcery blue-red deck here for this to really pop off, because 8 is a lot if you're just, have 1 or 2 instants or sorceries. When it enters the battlefield, you have to discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. Now, that's not bad if you've gotten to the point where you don't have that many cards in hand. Obviously, this is the type of card you want to keep it in your hand until it's the last card, and then you can discard it and draw 3. That makes it really good. If you're drawing or if you're netting cards off of it, maybe you have 1 or 2 cards including this in your hand, it becomes very, very strong. But if you can cast this for cheap, it's really good. It has prowess, so it scales in power, and it's an Ancestral Recall tacked onto a creature in most situations. So very strong, powerful mono red card here, but only fits into a certain type of deck. You can't play that in every red deck. We do have 2 more cards. First, Falcon Wrath Reaver is just a vanilla 2/2. It's 1 in red. People are excited about it, I guess, because it's the first card with this mana cost that doesn't have a downside, but whatever. It's just a vanilla creature. This guy I want to talk about real quick. Permeating Mass is a green spirit, a 1/3 that says when it deals combat damage to a creature, that creature becomes a copy of Permeating Mass. Now, I've been debating with this as soon as I saw it with a couple people, and I think it's terrible. I think it's bad for a rare, and some people think it's fantastic, but this, in my opinion, is worse than just a 1/1 Death Touch, because with a 1/1 Death Touch, if it blocks something, obviously you're not attacking with this creature. Your opponent's just going to let it through, and you're going to ding them 1. But if you block with it, if you block with a 1/1 Death Touch or a Death Touch creature in general, you're trading it off. If you block with this, your opponent's going to be left with something. And you want to talk about Permeating Mass? No. Okay. My buddy's here. He thinks Permeating Mass is good. I don't. But when you block with a Death Touch creature, you're trading 1 for 1. When you block with something that looks like this, you're losing your creature and your opponent's still left with something. So in best case scenario, your opponent is still left with a creature, which is the same annoying creature that you thought you were going to win with in the first place. So I think this card is generally really bad, but I may be proven wrong. And he's sitting here smiling at me like a doofus. But I don't know. I'm happy to hear opinions on this card. Anyway, that's all of the spoilers for today, unless we have any new ones. But
you don't lose that creature, just get a copy of it.
Anyway, yeah, that's all the spoilers today. So my name is Timothy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.